How's it going? This is Chris from Chris's Comments, show of common sense on common ground no matter what the subject. Today's subject, we got a hacker that's been that's hacking the computer systems to our fuel line, some fuel company. What does that mean for us down here at the bottom, which is the sole reason for coming up with this kind of a site? Well, it just means that we're to expect a little bit of gas price hikes. Now, we already have gas prices going up because of Memorial Day weekend. It's just silly to think anything else that as to the reasons why gas is up. Anytime you get something going on, especially with the political people, they're saying, well, it's this so-called whatever administration and all that. And it's just the most stupid claim ever. That aside, we got another Asian couple being attacked over there in California area, Oakland, I think it was. This one was a robbery, though. This one wasn't so much Asian hate, because testimony of all the other people that go to this particular business. It's a restaurant supply store, and it's apparently the closest one to quite a number of restaurants that need to stock up in their supplies. According to all the other shoppers who were not victimized, they're claiming that you have to watch your back, and that robberies like that take place quite a few times. Which I mean, it's sorry to say that sorry to hear that about the couple. It's good that it's just a standard robbery thing instead of a hate crime. Not that the robbery is any better, but yeah, I mean, it really needs to be settled. You know, over here on our end, we're not too much with that. Everybody's still using the buddy system here in San Antonio. It's a very rare thing. We only had one guy that sprayed graffiti on a restaurant over in the college area, which makes sense. Everybody around there would be sleeping. It was on a Sunday night. Everybody would be sleeping, getting rested up for the Monday morning. You know, so it only makes sense that a fool like that would actually do it around that time of the week. Now, Houston has a tiger on the loose. They're looking for a tiger, and it turns out it's not the only time that this has happened. Tigers have been escaping captivity over there for quite a while. I think for a total of 7 times out of the past 2 years. Now, it's not that we should be shocked or ridiculed or whatever. What I want to bring up is the down-to-earth segment about this. For the record, in Texas, you can buy a tiger and you can keep it. In Houston, you have to do it outside of the city area, the Houston city area. So if you're in the suburbs, that's fine. If you're in your own private land, that's fine. But you still have to abide by the responsibilities of maintaining and keeping it, as long as you have it in captivity. And the fact that we've got a total of 7 of them just within a couple of years escaping captivity and running through the neighborhood, that's a problem, people. Hopefully they can resolve their issues over there. You know, I don't really know about them Houstonians. But down here in San Antonio, we don't have too much going on, except for the housing problem. We've got a couple of circuitry shutdowns, couple of internet shutdowns going on. That's also caused by hackers. I'm going to change glasses here because it's a cloudy day, but the light and illumination is pretty darn strong. Yeah, we got a couple of problems with the housing industry. You know, the circuitry website shut down, and people having to resort to filling out the forms again. It's frustrating, but it's being looked into through the housing, the city housing, and an organization called Haven for Hope, which is, or Hope for Haven. Haven for Hope, which is a very good housing program, especially for those that are down on their luck and actually wound up homeless. You know, Haven for Hope is actually a really good program. Now we got that going on down here. That's the worst of it. There's an upcoming problem with here in our state about tent cities being banned. It hasn't been fully placed into effect yet, but when it does, more than likely it's going to be a serious issue talked about. For those who are not familiar with it, we down here who work and who are always around, we see stuff like this all the time. Even little guys like me, a little rideshare driver like me, notices tent cities and the people in them. A lot of them that are trying to, you know, make do with what they can, and then the others that are just causing problems, walking in and out of the street, on and off sidewalks, talking with themselves, throwing pouts, shouting shit, shouting stuff, and you know, waving their arms and stuff, flaring their arms up in the air and everything, flapping them and everything, just doing nothing but being a distraction to those of us on the road. Now, so far, none of them are crossing any lines. I've seen one that got temperamental over here on the north side. They got temperamental with people out there and everything on the road. And of course, it's very easy for somebody like that to be when people are trying to get from point A to point B on the road. We can't really slow down and stop and, you know, see what's up and all this other stuff. But it just stands within reason that this guy is more than likely going to get hit by a car, or somebody's going to actually make the time to turn around and possibly clip him. And I don't mean to sound so mean and everything, but we're talking about somebody that's causing problems in the street to drivers, okay, while they're trying to pass by and conduct their affairs. Me being one of them, but so far just nowhere around the guy. It's gonna be a small problem, and I you can quote me on small. You know, starting as far back as 2017 when I started rideshare driving, I would pull up at gas stations to get a lunch or whatever after doing several hours of driving, and some certain gas stations had panhandlers, that were trying people every now and then. I myself almost had to stab a guy who was trying to make himself intimidating, and I got myself weapon ready, because here in San Antonio, especially a guy like myself that was born and raised off of the West Side antics. Well, not West Side antics, just the West Side mentality, the environment mentality that once it's on, it's on. You let me walk from a fight, I'll walk from a fight. But once the fight is on, it's on, and you've got no choice but to just go all the way down, even if you're the one that's losing. You can't you can't stop. So when being confronted by this panhandler, he tried his hardest to make himself dominant by way of being intimidated, realizing that it wasn't getting him anywhere, walking off until finally one of the employees noticed this and said, I'm calling the cops on you two if you don't, separate and all this other stuff. Well, the panhandler took off, and rightly so. He's losing money doing this. So he started to walk off, and me, I was actually very easily agitated because of the fact of how hungry I was, and it was, I found it more comfortable to face off with him rather than come to my senses, so to say. Come to my senses. So, that's my Othello. I almost got thrown in jail for, cutting up a guy. But that being said, I'm all for sanctuaries, migrants, those kids, those little migrant children, all the way to the homeless. I'm even all for sanctuary cities, but there's gotta be a limit. You got people that were assaulted and those assaulting each other inside this little tent city, and it's ridiculous now. We've got Haven for Hope, which is a housing project, and we've got motels and hotels that are actually stopped accepting tourists, made deals with the city, and housed the homeless in their hotels. You really got no excuse for it. There's a reason. Sure, it's not an excusable one, but there is a reason. In order to get accepted to Haven for Hope and to get placed into your own hotel room, you got to be clean. One of those rules is that you got to be clean. And as a former doper, I can honestly tell you that is not easy to be. And all I was just mota and cocaine. Those were the two primary ingredients aside from the nicotine and the alcohol, which was easy to ascertain because of how legal it was. And for everybody that was, you got the stuff that's harder now. This coming August, this is 2021. This coming August, I'm going to be 20 years sober. And it's mainly because of how non-potent the mota and the cocaine was. The cocaine was just ordinary coke. It wasn't anything. It wasn't mixed to make meth. It wasn't mixed into a heroin dosage, some kind of a speedball that that's amped up. It wasn't mixed with Drano. It wasn't mixed with gasoline or again meth, methamphetamines. The cane was just cane. It was a powder that made you feel good, and you'd go off and I used to do power lines from telephone pole to telephone pole, and I used to take speed to get the heart running, and cocaine to numb the pain, to numb any sensations, so I can keep going. And it was for the work, it was for the job. And I wound up switching over to something else, but that's beside the point. And it was all these little experiences just like that, along with the partying, starting with the heavy metal, in the late 80s, early 90s, that wound up contributing to all of this. So much that by 2001, August 27, 2001, where I decided to sober up, it was because I was just this complete mess. And again, it was nowhere near as strong as the stuff that is going on now. So you're taking a look at these people that are living in tent cities or living off the street. You got them sleeping, roadside, off the sidewalk and stuff, and it's because they can't get accepted because of that one aspect. You gotta be clean. You gotta sober up, and so it's very difficult for obviously somebody like me to judge them. I understand them, because since 2001, my struggles went switching to food, just sticking to the legal stuff like cigarettes and alcohol, going back to food, doing exercise, doing stuff, and then with the activities like martial arts. I was in a martial arts school for a small while. I was a fisherman for a good while. I was a hiker, a biker, as in pedal, a cook. Food wound up becoming the savior of it all. Loving foods. It turns out I'm addicted to nothing. I'm allergic to no ingredient. I'm allergic. I can eat, curry, bring it, heavy on the paprika, bring it, curry-based dishes, not a problem. Seafood dishes, raw fish dishes, not a problem. I'm allergic to nothing, ingredients, spices, garlic, all sorts of heavy starched food ingredients, man. I found out while sobering up and trying to run away from my past drugs that I'm just allergic to nothing. So yeah, that wound up becoming my savior there, and no problems. 20 years this coming August, and I've gotten into the habit of running away from those habits. Now that I just, I really enjoy it a lot. So what we got going on is a very questionable way of handling tent cities. I'm going to go back to my glasses because I'm just and I honestly believe that it's something that has to be tackled even further. Here in San Antonio, we've got a drug program, but again, we still have this larger number of people that are homeless. Okay, got about 8 minutes left, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do a roundabout thing concerning this. The problem with jobs, again, you gotta be clean in order to take jobs, so there's a lot of people that are hurting that way. Also, you need a place to stay, and if you haven't gotten into Habitat for Humanity or Haven for Hope or anything like that yet, you got to make do with what you can. It leaves a lot of sketchiness through a lot of businesses, but the mind-boggler out of all of them is employees don't want to work. We'll even take them if they got a condition, a drug addiction condition, but they don't want to work because of the free checks that are coming around. First off, it was only one time that we all got $1,400 from the government. One time. I personally got one, and it flew right out of my hand, just like money usually does. So for everybody saying nobody wants to work because of all these checks, that's total BS. Especially coming from businesses that are losing to people taking the $300 a week check from the unemployment. Okay? And a lot of people are saying, well, no, that's on top of the benefits to it. Well, as a person that's been unemployed, I can honestly tell you there are no benefits to it. You're given access to a computer in their headquarters, and that's if the pandemic hasn't forced them to go make you to do it off of your own phones. A list of jobs to apply for if you're even if you reach the application requirements. There's no guarantee that you're going to get hired, and then you're told to kiss off, you know. Yeah, and you've got to, also there's the forms that you got to fill out to show that you've been actually applying for work. You got to list all the businesses that you've actually applied for. There's no other benefits to that. Plain and simple. I don't understand what benefits they're talking about. Maybe something for the children, but even still, $20 to $40 per child doesn't actually help. And most likely, in this day and age, you have to take that out of the 300. You know, well, that's what we get. That's what you're giving the 300 for, which doesn't pay squat. I'm single. I'm divorced. The children that I raised were never mine. But even if they were, but they weren't. But so let me get back to that. The children that I raised weren't even mine, but the times that I was with them, you know, the cost of living was up there, you know, and there's just no way that 300 a week is gonna pay for all that, for however many mouths totaled to feed. So for everybody that's saying nobody wants to work, they all want to go on these pensions and all that, that's a bunch of BS. Here in San Antonio, the cheapest way of living is $1,725, while the highest cost of living is around $2,600 per month. 300 times 4 weeks is $1,200. You can't keep up that way. You can't ignore work with only $1,200 a month. That's total BS. And the businesses that are saying that there's no point in trying to look for workers because they just don't want to work and all this other stuff, no. They don't want to go to your place of business because you're not paying them even a total worth of $300 a week. That's why they're not going to your businesses. I know, because before I've got this vehicle right here, I got into a collision. Somebody T-boned me back in 2019, just before the pandemic. During 2020, while I was trying to get the car running again, I had to do a 9-to-5 job. That was only paying $10 or $12 an hour. I can't remember how much, but I was making $300 a week. Okay, now it was a lot of manual labor, and it was very long hours. But guess what? Guess what? That is what I used to save up money to get this vehicle. Okay, for you, the business owner, not to provide that much for your workers says a lot. If the workers are literally finding better refuge to $300 a week given by a government check, then what the hell are they doing going to you? You're not paying them that much. You're obviously not paying them that much. Because at least through work, an hourly wage job, they have taxes that they can file later on. They have collections that they can do that. Somebody like myself who files a 1099 doesn't. With the exception of last year's W-2. So there's far bigger benefit working an hourly wage job than there is getting a government check, which gives you nothing at the end of the year. There's no quarterly to collect because they've been collecting checks all this time. Those checks are big bonuses that help. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a bunch of BS. I had to let that out, along with the jobs that go along with the problems of people trying to stay clean. Along with the fact that it's going to get harder for people to actually get out of tent cities by way of being banned in a tent city. It's just freaking stupid. It's of no help. It doesn't serve us any purpose. Now, if there's a refuge built, then fine, you know, by all means. But this is Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who's not going to build any kind of refuge. It's going to leave it all to all the cities that are on their own, San Antonio holds its own, but it'd be nice if it could actually network throughout the rest of the state, which is just not happening. Cities, counties, small towns, they just don't want to cooperate. For whatever reason, some right-wing rhetoric bullcrap, all the way down to the fact that, some counties just really can't help. They're not equipped for that. And that part is understandable. It's the total BS that goes along the lines with the letting the COVID shots expired instead of redirecting them to places that actually need them. Vaccinations, that's a bunch of BS, and that's eventually it has to stop. So that's the spiel for today. Current times, with what's going on here amongst those little people. Hope whoever's seeing this finds it informative or enthusiastic or spiritually uplifting. You're not alone. The BS that's going on down here is the same BS that's going on, and you're on the other side of this screen. So y'all take care. Take it easy. Stay safe out there. This is Chris from Chris Comments signing out. Take care, y'all.